The following is a presentation of Morning Drive Media.
Broadcasting from the heart of Studio City, this is the Napzok Files, The Return. I'm Kat Napzok, your host for the show, which is good because it has my name on it. And I am back from, once again, an unexpected hiatus. I shouldn't apologize for it. It's just life, and good things have been happening, and that's okay. We're going to accept that. I'm going to move my guilt from not broadcasting from my soul right now so that we may have a good show. It's good to be back. And I'm joined in the new and improved Napzok Files Lounge, which is now in a Minnie Mo's Tavern, Simpsons tribute bar inside my lounge. I'll tweet some pictures out one of these days. With me is I'd say this is one of our most anticipated episodes. I think a lot of people are excited for this one. Almost as much as they were for Christian Harloff or Mark Ellis or the rest of the Schmoes Know crew. This is the man that makes the Schmoes Know Movie Show happen. It is Josh Tapia, a.k.a. Josh the Intern, now promoted to Josh the Engineer.
What is going on, Ken? Thank you. Some great lies right there.
Yeah?
Right off the bat.
Do you feel important?
I feel semi-important.
You should feel important. Because right now, with the transition of the Schmoes Know podcast, and if you don't listen to the Schmoes Know podcast, give it a whirl. Do you like movies? Do you like pop culture? Do you like laughing? Then head over to the Schmoes Know podcast. You can find it. It's actually, I'm trying to get rid of the word podcast from it because it's moved beyond just a podcast.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, it's more of a show event.
It's an internet TV show about movies. It also has an audio component. But you can find us live every Thursday night, 6 to 8 p.m. on schmoesknow.com. We're now at the AfterBuzz TV studios, which are run by Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the AfterBuzz crew, the fine folks over there. And because of that transition, you've gone from the hapless Josh the Intern to the all-powerful Josh the Engineer. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. I'm kind of like a one-man TD operator, which I actually learned a little bit in college, so kind of had to like flash back to my training back in the day.
You went to college?
Yeah, I did.
You're okay. There's a lot we're going to learn about you.
Oh yeah,
a lot to get into, Mr. Tapia here. When did you join the Schmoes Know crew?
It was about 2 years ago. What year was it? 2012? 2012, yeah.
My first duty as the producer of the Schmoes Know podcast, as it was called back then, was to interview you at the Farmers Market on 3rd and Fairfax, to bring you in as a intern.
Yeah, it's funny how that happened. Schmoes do like YouTube videos very often, and they did one where like, ask the Schmoes whatever you want. And I didn't even like email them. I literally wrote it in the comment section. Hey, do you guys need an intern? Honestly, did not think anything would come out of it. And
little innocuous comment.
Yeah, next thing
launched your career.
Seriously. Imagine if I sat at that computer and I decided not to write that comment.
So that's the lesson right here we're going to learn right now in the Napzok Files, folks. Chase your dreams. Set goals and work hard. And then when you joined in October of 2012, that's what you did. You worked hard. And I want people to know that who are tuning in to find out a little bit more about you, Josh the Intern, Josh now the Engineer, or JTE, as we call you. The man who you are, Josh Tapia, is a hard-working, dedicated bloke who, and I don't want this to come off as making fun of your transportation situation, though we need to start a Kickstarter to get you a car.
Yeah.
But you take a train and a bus, and on one occasion a cab that dropped you off 2 miles away from the studio location, 3 miles away from the studio. You corrected me. And you still get to the studio 2 to 3 times a week to prepare the show. And back when you joined in October 2012, you showed up and, you know, it was funny because we hadn't, the position wasn't defined. It wasn't an internship. It was like, that's just what we called you.
Yeah.
Really, you were a PA, a runner, a gopher, but turned into a backbone employee. So thank you for that, number one.
No problem.
Maybe the fans out there will donate you some kind of used Toyota Corolla from 91 or something like that.
I'm working on getting a car, actually. I sold my car a couple years ago when I left LA.
Right.
And I came back. I just didn't want to buy one right away.
That's fascinating. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
We're flying without a roadmap here. When you left LA, explain to the folks what that means.
Well, when I first moved to LA, I think it was 2007, I believe. I just graduated, film school. Basically spent the first 6 months in Studio City, your neighborhood.
And where'd you go to school at?
I went to Full Sail University in Florida.
Oh, I know Full Sail well, the home of WWE's NXT TV tapings.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Look it up. WWE's training developmental territory out there. They shoot at Full Sail. So, okay.
Oh, wow,
That's
okay.
good. It's a very good school.
It is a very good school, very expensive. I'm still learning
That's
that.
why you don't have a car.
Exactly. It's a really cool school, but it's like I got my bachelor's in TV, film, science production, which I'm still not quite sure what that means.
Damn, that means you're smarter than me, though.
Yeah, and it's a very accelerated school. Like you go 5 to 6 days a week, and you're there for 6 to 12 hours sometimes a day.
Really?
You can't really work when you're going to the school. So like you take student loans not only to go there, but I took out student loans just for living money.
Yeah, just for getting yourself a hot dog.
Apartment. I got an apartment. Food.
Oh, wow.
Ramen noodles were a big hit.
Ramen noodles?
Yeah.
Those an off-brand of ramen noodles?
Yes, it's a Japanese version.
Wow. Okay, so you learned full bore. I mean, and that's one thing when you showed up to us. You're a fine filmmaker. Your finest piece for us right now is the Meet the Schmoes Finstock edition.
Yeah.
Your masterpiece, JTE's masterpiece. Check it out on Schmo Plus, the YouTube channel there. So yeah, you have an extensive background. It's not just that you're a movie fan.
No.
You are, but it's beyond that.
It started as a kid. I've loved movies since I was like 2 years old. As far as I can remember.
Wait. Since you were 2 years old, you remember?
I have pictures of me sitting in front of a TV when I was 2 years old, watching like, God knows, maybe like E.T. and stuff like that. Literally, that was my babysitter. My parents, like, if they wanted me to be quiet, they would sit me in front of a TV and put on a movie.
Here you go. Here's Children of a Lesser God. Watch this. Would you like Kramer versus Kramer? Here you go, kid. Well, okay. So your earliest memories of watching Flight of the Navigator or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, I think, man, what's my earliest?
Dig it up. Yeah, find it.
One of my earliest memories as a kid was my dad taking me to see Superman 4: Quest for Peace, which was a horrible movie, but as a little kid, I loved it.
Which one? Yeah. That one.
That's the fourth one.
Which is the one with Pryor?
That's the third one. Superman 3.
Right, and that one was pretty bad too, right?
Yeah, that one's pretty bad. But it's when you're a kid, you love bad movies, man.
I loved Superman 3 as a kid.
Yeah.
Pryor, that lady falls into the thing, like becomes a robot or something.
Yeah, she gets transformed by like some giant laser. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, but I haven't seen that since I saw it in the theater, and that's my point. Is I remember it.
Yeah,
so as bad as it was, and I read about how bad it was now as a kid. It's good. So all right, so your love starts there, and then when you went to film school, so what's your goal? What?
I wasn't sure what my goal was, and that's one thing I will give Full Sail credit to is they don't teach you just like a lot of colleges will teach you theory of film.
Yeah.
And one thing they say at Full Sail, they teach you below the line, which means you learn.
That's a production thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a production thing. It's basically you learn how to do the smallest job on set to the biggest job on set. Okay. And when you shoot, we shot 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter. We shot digital, and it really prepared me for not just like how to make movies, but how to work on movies.
Which is a great strategy.
It's a great strategy. And when you start going to Full Sail, because you do sound, you do editing, you do camera, you figure out what you kind of like. And
it was to your advantage that you showed up kind of going, hey, teach me what you got.
Exactly. Listen, when you get there, you go, I love film. I want to learn how to make it. And I think and a lot of people that go to college, like USC and stuff, they teach above the line, which is basically
spoiled.
Right and direct. Yeah. So when you become a PA and you work on set, that's when you find out, hey, maybe I'd like to do sound, maybe I'd like to do video, maybe I'd like to do camera.
And for me, it also shows that you have some credibility. Let's say you direct a movie at some point, let's say JTE directs Captain America 5. All right, let's say Marvel does that. By the time you get to that point, you will have done all the little things, and so you have some credibility as a leader, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, me and Marvel aren't talking right now. But.
Oh yeah, well we can work on that. Okay, that's great. So, I mean, I don't think people know that about you, that you know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. When you're like the 4 to the 3 aspect ratio, get me a C-stand with you know it. You've done it.
Yeah. I've worked on sets. I've, shot a lot of short films.
Yeah.
For me, like, obviously when I left the film school, I was like, I'd love to be a director.
Sure.
But I am also very realistic in my...
Right.
Knowing coming to Hollywood, becoming a director is not something that everybody pulls off. It's kind of like hitting the lottery. It's when luck meets preparation. I was prepared.
Oh, yeah, it's a good bumper sticker. Yeah,
it is. So I was prepared. It's all about the luck aspect for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like when I started working on films, it just seems like it's so hard to get to where to go through become a director by going through a set and working on set. I feel like you have a better chance of just going out, making your own film, which a lot of people are doing nowadays.
Yep.
And that's the difference. I think, when I was a kid, it was more about working on set and going through the studios. That's how Spielberg became a director and all these other guys.
Right.
They worked in studio stuff, and they met these other guys.
And Spielberg, he directed...
I believe he directed the classic...
1942?
1942 and Awakenings.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Those are only two that come to mind.
And for those who don't know, Josh and I have a long-running battle about my lack of watching movies and you watching everything ever made. So that'll pop up. We'll dive into that later. What's a gremlin? So... You haven't given up on any passion to direct, though, right?
No.
You might get the opportunity coming out of Schmoeville here.
True. I always said, like, I've had several times in my life of planned about making a small independent film.
Okay.
The great thing about going to film school is you meet all these other guys that want to make movies.
I always say I didn't go to film. I did 2 years. You won't believe this, but I actually did 2 years learning the basics of film school.
No way.
At Allen Hancock Community College in Santa Maria, California. But it had a robust film program. All right. There's several people down here who I know at the time who have been making movies. My friend Ben Cooper is a director. Been making independent movies down here 14 years in Hollywood. So it was we could make fun about a community college, but I went there for 2 years. I was like, I'm going to be the next George Lucas. Okay. I'm going to write horrible sci-fi prequels. No, I went down there. That was my goal. I wrote 8 scripts. I had all this stuff. And then I realized I just didn't have the patience for any of it. Below the line and above the line writing was about the only thing I wanted to do. So you went there with this passion to direct, so it hasn't left you. No,
I am most comfortable when I have a camera and I'm shooting something. Right. To this day, like when I do meet the Schmoes, half the fun for me is just having a camera in my hand and shooting whatever comes in my head.
And you're not a glory hound.
No.
You're content kind of being who you are.
Yeah, totally.
I mean that in a nice way. Like you're not showing up with a look at me attitude. You're like, oh, I'm the guy that's going to be pressing the buttons, shooting, editing, which is very hard, and you edit a lot of stuff for the Schmoes, not the reviews or anything, but a lot of the side videos and the commercial breaks and all that good stuff that we see you're doing.
Yeah, and I enjoy that. I love one of the things I realized I loved when I was in film school was not only just shooting, but the editing. Because really, you could shoot
crazy.
You could shoot so much stuff, and it's not until you get to the editing room that you really know you have something.
Yeah, you make a movie 3 times: the writing, the shooting, and the editing. And the editing's probably the one that wins.
Yeah,
as far as the one that makes it look good.
So I enjoy that stuff, and I love doing stuff for the Schmoes.
So when you finished Full Sail, other than probably billions of debt, then what?
I went home for about 2 weeks and visited.
Where's home?
In Connecticut. And
you're a blue blood. Okay.
Yeah. I wanted, because I've been in college for a couple of years. I wanted to go visit family, but I also went back home with the mindset that not to stay there too long because I was afraid I was going to get comfortable. Yeah. I'm staying with my parents, blah blah blah. So I basically said I'm coming back for 2 weeks, gonna have a little graduation party, and then I flew straight out to LA for the first time. I'd never been to LA before, and I had a friend who graduated about a year before me who already moved to LA. And he was only there for a few months, and he had an apartment, and he basically agreed to let me sleep on his floor.
Okay.
So and it was in Studio City, and I basically took a plane here.
And I won't mention the apartment complex. I don't know why I wouldn't. It's the Archstone.
Yeah.
It's kind of famous in here in L.A. or known in L.A. For let's just say some women performers of a certain industry.
Yes.
Live there. A lot of them are there, and there's that shop, that Ralph's next door, where if you go on a Friday night about 5:30 to buy a can of soup, you're going to meet some interesting young ladies there. So you were there.
It's funny when you see those ladies and you know immediately what they do for a living.
So you've come. This is why I bring it up because you've come to L.A. and you're like, I'm here. Let's Hollywood, and wow, look at her, and wow, look at this, and now I'm here. This is real. It's happening.
Yeah, it was a little bit mind blowing. Like I told you before, Ralph's right next to where I was living.
Yeah.
I would go. I think my second week here, I was shopping. I'm buying like a TV dinner or something, and I look down and there's Robert Patrick from Terminator 2. He's like pushing a cart down towards me, and I'm just like, holy crap! It was like I'm hearing the Terminator music. Yeah. So I had to get used to that. Now I'm used to it now. I see people.
Like, oh, okay. When you all have like the first celebrity sightings. Look, there's still ones that are probably weird and random. You probably have. If you were to meet a certain celebrity, you'd be like, oh, when we all met Roddy Piper on the podcast, and I had met Piper before, and actually eventually, as people know, got to be in a wrestling match with him. That was one of the, oh my gosh, I'm meeting you type of moments. But there's other ones where you're just like, yeah, it's John Malkovich.
And it's different when you see him in public and you're not like meeting them.
Yeah.
I went and saw Pirates 3 in Century City with a friend of mine, and Bruce Willis showed up to see the movie.
Really? Just that?
Yeah, he's there watching a movie with his girlfriend, and I can't concentrate on the movie anymore.
Because you're like, Bruce Juice, he's on the loose.
Yeah, John McClane's a few rows ahead of me. Like, I'm looking at him when I'm actually watching the movie. So there's when they're that level, it's when you're a movie geek like me, it's hard to comprehend.
It's a little, when you first, and I'm talking about when you first hit the town, it is surreal. I was at I was driving down the street, and for some reason, it was really weird. I saw Noah Wiley. From ER, and this is late 90s, and I just remember, wow, this must happen every day. It doesn't, but I was stuck in traffic on Sunset one night, and this jerk was like cutting through traffic in a Cadillac Escalade. I'm like, who the hell is? Oh, it's Suge Knight. Okay, you can go, sir. You can go, sir. It's surreal, and eventually you kind of get used to it, or you become friends with people who become famous, or you become friends with people who already have a degree of fame. And it becomes kind of this normal thing. But then you see I at that same Ralph's you were talking about, I was at the self-checkout line, and on the one direct opposite of me was Allison Brie from Community. And I
love of my life
absolutely had one of those I'm going to follow her to her car, like she should have had me arrested right there. And I got on a phone call and called Joe Ruggiero, Shoesy Pants from Schmoes Know World, who's a big fan too. I'm like, I just bought some eggs next to Allison Brie, and that was like 2 years ago, so it doesn't really leave. But anyways,
listen, when you see somebody in LA, you can't wait to tell somebody else.
It is what it is. And my ex-girlfriend, her mom had a coffee shop. She used to regularly serve John Malkovich, and became friends with Malkovich. He'd just sit there hanging out, and I stood next to him. I never, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I just, hey, let me get a latte, and let them carry on their conversation. Yeah, because that's what he wanted. He didn't want to be John Malkovich. He just wanted to be John.
My ex-girlfriend in Simi Valley, I guess Mark Wahlberg lives around there, and she would see him all the time at Target, at the grocery store, and she says it's because he's there so often. It's kind of normal. They don't really approach him or do anything. And in my head, I'm like, holy crap! If I saw Mark Wahlberg, I'd probably say something.
Again, there's this one. I walked right past George Lucas at the Grove.
Oh, really?
And this is 4 years ago, so this was obviously post prequels, and obviously post all that anger and angst we as fans have, but he's still George Lucas. And he was talking to some girl, might have even been his daughter Katie, now that I think back in time, Katie Lucas, who's written on the Clone Wars now and everything, and he's just walking along, and he's got the flannel and the beard, and it's George Lucas, and I rubbed his shoulder, and no one else was really paying attention, and I was like, that's the epitome of what it is to be in this town.
And for me, like working in industry, it's a respect thing. I don't want to bother these people and act like a fan, because I know they probably get it so often. Like when I saw Bruce Willis, I didn't say anything to him, but after the movie, as we're walking out, some little Spanish lady started screaming and literally ran from across the theater to her hands waving in the air like, oh my god, I love you.
We have a saying in our now it's former pro wrestling company that I own, Millennium Pro Wrestling, our head trainer. He was friends with a very famous punk-like wrestler who's recently retired from the WWE. And there was a chance that gentleman was going to come out and say hi. It was a possibility. And some of our wrestlers were freaking out. And we had this saying. It was like, you choose. Do you want to get a picture with them, or do you want to one day wrestle with them?
Oh, nice.
What do you want to do? And, exactly. No one. There's people I maybe could say I want to meet as fans, but treat them as humans, so maybe you can work with them one day when you're in this town.
Totally agree.
We got off on a sidetrack on celebrity sightings, which is weird. So, Allison Brie, I'd like to apologize for stalking you to your car out of the Ralph's. Anyways, you're in town. Yeah. You've come from Full Sail. You're here. Your dreams are out in front of you, and you end up into what?
The first thing I did was I did a couple of free PA jobs, where basically you go on Craigslist and you look
free. Don't do things for free.
I learned that very quickly. So I did a couple spec commercials for some random people that are looking for PAs. They know what they're looking for. Kids that just moved out here. They're trying to get their foot in the door, which I was doing. So I did like, I think 2 or 3 of those. And at that point, I was like, I can't do free no more.
Yeah.
Because I need to start making some money.
We all get to a point where we're like, we can't do things for free anymore.
Yeah.
But sometimes you start to get some work in.
And I actually got very lucky. A friend of mine who I grew up with, I've known since probably 3rd grade. And he's still a real good friend of mine. His sister had moved out here, and she does like a lot of online stuff, like blogging and stuff. Mm-hmm. And her boyfriend does transpo. Which in transpo is basically in the film industry where you work vans on sets and stuff like that. And she heard about what I was out there, and she offered me work on a commercial.
Okay. And
this guy was really cool, and he basically was like, yeah, I'll give you a quick job. And what I found out very quickly is people in Hollywood, they love commercial work because they pay you more for less days. Yeah. Whereas in a film, and I've done a few films, low budget and some bigger budget, you'll get paid maybe not as much, but you get a longer job. Yeah. But if you go on a set of a commercial, it's a lot of veterans. The sound guys are veterans. The camera guys are veterans. It's like they've done their dues. So they all said to me, man, it's a big deal that you're working on a commercial already, because usually this is what the veterans do.
This is what they aspire to get to.
Yeah, that's what you get to. It's small jobs, a lot of money. And I was like, okay, awesome. And one of my first commercials was a L'Oreal commercial. Yeah. With starring Penelope Cruz.
Penelope Cruz.
Yes.
You got to meet Penelope Cruz.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. We shot for 2 days. Yeah. And I made about, I think it was about $250 a day. Yeah. So it was pretty good money for me. At that point, I was ecstatic. And the first day we shot in Hollywood Hills, they rented out a house and they made it look like Penelope's house. My job was literally, we had base camp on Sunset Boulevard. My job was like driving the people from Sunset up the hills into the house. Right. So all day I'm driving back and forth. That was a pretty easy day. Second day we shot in a Paramount lot, which was, to me, I'm geeking out. Yeah. Because they gave me a golf cart, and I'm basically...
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you're PA on a studio with a golf cart.
It's amazing. And I'm riding around, and like 1 second you're in the studio, and then you take a right turn, and it looks like you're in downtown Chicago. There's a set that looks like Chicago. And I'm just like, this is unbelievable. And I'm calling I'm like tweeting my friend, not tweeting, texting my friends.
Friendstering.
And Barry Levinson was shooting a film on the lot with Robert De Niro called What Could Happen, I believe it was called. And I pull my golf cart over and I see De Niro doing a scene from the movie. They're filming it. Wow. So I'm sitting there and I cannot believe I'm watching Robert De Niro act.
Were you in his eye line?
No, I was like, there was a lot of people watching too. Which I thought maybe,
Yeah, you'd think they'd be like, hey, buzz off.
Yeah,
De Niro's working.
But De Niro's there doing a scene. It was like a lunch scene. They made his little place look like an outside diner. And I called my friend from film school and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I'm watching De Niro do a scene right now. This is like unbelievable. That's funny. And so afterwards, I eventually go back to where they're shooting a commercial. Yeah. And we're collecting C-stands, which is basically what lighters use for flags and stuff like that. Very technical.
You're using a lot of terms.
Yeah, a lot
of
terms.
That I know. I'm familiar with because I've seen other people do it.
Exactly. So one of the guys, who's a grip, older guy, goes and he goes, hey, there's a C-stand and a sandbag in Penelope's trailer. Go get it. I'm like, well, what do you mean it's in her trailer? He's like, yeah, don't worry. Just go in there and grab it. We need it. At this point, I'm a kid who's on the set for the first time.
You're a rookie.
I'm a rookie. I'm like, okay, no problem.
Your boot.
So I didn't even knock, which is even worse. I opened the trailer, and there's Penelope in her bra and underwear. And she has 2 other girls in there with her. Like, one's doing hair, one's doing makeup. And the second I open the door and I see her, she looks back at me and goes, get out! And her 2 girlfriends start yelling at me, get out, get out! And I was like, oh, sorry. I closed the door. And I was like, oh my God.
I'm fired.
Yeah, that's one thing. I'm fired.
I might be murdered.
So now I'm like running around hiding, and I hear, we have walkie-talkies. I hear, somebody just go into Penelope's without knocking. I didn't answer. I didn't say anything. I just avoided the situation as much as possible, and I did busy work like around the set. Yeah. Good thing is Paramount's very big, so I was able to get lost. Yeah. And I knew right away those guys probably pulled that on me because they knew it was my first show. But listen, I got to see Penelope in her bra and underwear.
Hey, that's a bonus. That's a bonus for a little rib. Wow, that's and you had mentioned that you met her when I.
Oh, let me say, very nice lady, by the way. I had lunch with her earlier in the day because she was very cool. They have a big, nice food truck, and you eat lunch. It was like steak and like lobster crabs. I couldn't believe how much good food.
Lobster crabs?
Yeah. Well,
is that like a new invention?
They had lobsters and crabs, like a whole like.
Is that some Disney villain? A lobster crab came from the deep.
As you can tell, I can't afford to eat that food very often.
I can't either. Okay, so but that was before the underwear.
That was before, and she sat down with like the crew and was eating with us. So she was very kind of chill and nice.
And then after the underwear incident, you probably didn't have lunch with her.
I avoided her at all costs because I didn't want her to be like, "That's him.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one."
So yeah,
that's funny. Well, when I interviewed you for Schmoes Know, I remember kind of like, "All right, you might occasionally be around celebrities in the Schmoes Know," and you were like, "Whatever, dude." I barged in on Penelope, and you told me that story, and this kid's gonna be all right. Yeah, this kid's gonna be all right. So from that production work, you end up. How long did you do that?
Oh man, for almost a year and 2 years, right up until the writer's strike. So that really affected me.
Yeah. November 2007, right?
Was 2007 the writer's strike?
Yep,
I thought it was 2009.
2007 because... No, take it back. You were right. 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
2007, we shot a pilot with Christian Harloff and everybody called Grassman and Straws. When it was finally done, we presented it in November 2009 then, I believe. Or maybe it was 2008. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it was November. Because I'll tell you that because we presented it like the day the strike started. Oh, no. So no one, if they're interested or not, they couldn't touch it. The strike was on.
Yeah. Well, basically up to that point, one thing I learned is I do not get jobs by sending resumes. I sent out so many resumes, I never got a job. Every job I got from that point on was recommendations. You become friends with these other people that work on set. Yeah. And you will just get calls and to work on other projects. And it could be nerve-wracking because you don't know when you're getting your next call.
Yeah.
But it gets to the point where you become friends with these people, and like I would get calls like, "Hey, I can't work this. Do you want to work it?"
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Fine." It got to the point where I was getting offered so many jobs that I had other people call me for work because I was very occasionally I was giving work to other people because I was already on a film or I was already on a TV show. And when the writer's strike happened and it dried up like so bad, I had people calling me for work, and I was like, "Listen, I can't even get work right now."
Right.
And so those 2 years I did a lot of PA work, some key PA work, some assistant camera work.
There's good money in that work, and these guys that do it for years. And I know some people have gone on to do crew and set painting, and it is scary because I know one kid, he got married, had a kid, bought a house in Simi Valley, and all of a sudden the work stopped. And he couldn't go to Vancouver. He couldn't go to New Mexico. He couldn't go to North Carolina to shoot. And I haven't talked to him in a while. The last time I talked to him, it was kind of dire.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like... It's really about all who you know. That's what I found out. And I worked on a lot of VH1 MTV stuff for a while. Like, you'll find a production company that likes you. Yeah. And they'll give you a lot of work. So I did a lot, and I don't like reality TV. Yeah. Working on it is fine, I guess. I wasn't really enjoying it too much. I much preferred working on films. Yeah. Just because I enjoy films more.
You want to see De Niro.
Yeah. And it depends. Like, it's funny when you work on a low-budget film. You feel the low budget because everyone's stressed out. Everyone's trying to make the day. Right. So I did like this one film called Midnight Movie, which shot right here in North Hollywood, not that far from here. And I worked on that for like a month straight, and it was okay, but the producers were losing their mind because of the money situation. The actors weren't happy. So it was really stressful. But then when I worked on some higher budget stuff, it's just like cakewalk.
What's of those higher budget ones? What did you work on? Can you say?
This one wasn't as bad because I worked in The Office. I worked in Valkyrie, which was the Tom Cruise film. Yeah. I came on towards the end, and I was never like fully on a full budget film from beginning to end. Yeah. Basically, I was like a day player. They would call me in for a week or two here and there. So, and for that one, they were doing reshoots. They were shooting out in the desert, like the scene where Tom Cruise gets his eye blown out, like in the desert in the beginning of the film.
If that happens, okay.
Yeah, you never saw it. So we were doing like all these wardrobe tests, and most of my time I was in Bryan Singer's office.
Oh, were you now?
Yeah, for about 90% of the time I was in there just doing paperwork, and every once in a while I would run the set and do stuff.
So what can you tell us about that situation?
Basically, let me just say this. He's a very shy, quiet guy when I worked with him. Yeah. My desk was right next to his office. Okay. So it would be literally, he would always walk around with a Superman mug, and he would just kind of come in and out, and he'd just go, "Oh, hi." And that's it. I would always talk to the second command or some of the other guys. He didn't really bother him, put it that way. Okay. But he's like, listen,
who knows?
I didn't really get to know him. So.
We hear those parties, so hear the stories.
Also, let me say, when you work as a PA and a key PA, you get called for jobs you don't know exactly what they are until you get there. Yeah. Okay. The code name for that film was Rubicon. And they called me like, there's a film at Focus Features called Rubicon. Can you do it for a couple weeks? I was like, sure. I didn't know idea what it was. I even looked online. I was like, what the hell is this? It's probably some straight to DVD movie. It wasn't until I got there and I start looking like they have binders that said Valkyrie and stuff, and I'm like, holy shit.
Did you get to meet Cruz?
No, Cruz. It's funny. To this day, they give you when you start a movie, they give you a packet with every single person's contact, email, phone number. So everyone that worked on that film, I had all their contacts except for Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise said they gave you his agents like email, and that's it. But no, I never got to see Tom. Like we filmed a lot of stuff. We filmed with second assistant, stuff like that.
That's what happens. So from that work, the writer strike hits. Things are dire, and you decide to leave the country.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I decided to go work for Deluxe Digital in Burbank.
That sounds dirty.
If you put in any Blu-ray or DVD, and you go to the very end of the, right after credits end, you'll usually see a Deluxe logo. They handle a lot of the post-production as far as like film, and now more digital, but back then it was more film. And it's just a production house that handles DVDs, Blu-rays, and restoration, and they even do like not editing, but some of the color correction.
You're making copies then. You're making copies of movies.
Not even my job. And this is when I had a car. My job was
what?
Yeah, I bought a car after like maybe 6 months. After the first 6 months, I bought a Nissan Sentra.
What happened? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I sold it.
We're getting to that point.
We're getting to that point. So basically, at this point, my job every day was to drive to all the other studios,
right,
and basically pick up film. I mean, like canisters of film, and sometimes digital copies, stuff that needed to be worked on that we needed to have in the studio.
Right.
So I got to the point where I was at Universal Studios every day. I was at WB, MGM. I went to every studio every day, which was cool because before I left, I could have walked into Universal Studios because the security guards all knew me.
They all knew you.
Yeah. Like I even brought friends to the back. I had friends visit me. I would get them to the back lot.
Really?
Because when I went to security, they would know who I am.
Hey, JTE, come on down.
Come on in.
If only you had that nickname then. Cool. So you're doing that.
Yeah, and that's what.
Yeah, and that's when it dried up.
It was because the reason why I went to that job because the films dried up and the TV shows dried up, and I needed to do something to make money.
Right.
But after doing that for about a year, I was just burnt out on it. I wasn't happy. I wanted to work on movies, and all my contacts kind of dried up from before.
Okay.
And part of me was like, okay, I really don't want to do this anymore. And I don't know if I want to go right back into production because I did my production time, and before I could really turn it to something, the strike happened and all my work dried up.
Right.
So then I was just like, you know what? My parents recently retired, went to South America. I said, I just need to like recharge the battery. So I sold my car. I was renting a house in Burbank. I gave him my notice. I packed all my stuff in a bag and I flew to South America.
By all the stuff in a bag, you mean a couple VHS copies of Gremlins and Ghostbusters and headed out?
I literally threw everything I owned on Craigslist, like for free practically.
Right.
And all I brought to Ecuador was some clothes and a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays.
So this is Ecuador, okay.
Yeah, Ecuador, South America, Ecuador. That's where my parents were. They were very lucky.
What made them choose Ecuador?
My dad's from Ecuador.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my mom joined the Peace Corps in the 70s.
Ah.
Met my dad in South America while she was stationed. They moved,
true love.
Yes, true love. They met, and they basically moved to America once they got married, and that's where I was grew up and raised.
Okay, so he was like, hey, I'm retired. We're going back down.
Yeah.
We're going to open up a surf shop or something. And
they invested and bought a bunch of property in the early 80s.
Nice.
Which they got for really cheap, and now is worth a lot more.
Gotcha. So they're kind of like those villains in some kind of clear and present danger movie, right? They just have a bunch of land and a compound, huh?
Exactly.
So I remember when I first met you, you're like, yeah, I spent like a year in Ecuador. What? Yeah, I just played basketball and walked around.
To not work, since I was 16, I've worked my whole life.
Right.
Except for when I went to college, but that school was like work.
Again, 12-hour days school,
So for not working for a year was like, it was really kind of awesome. I mean, no other word to say it.
I get it.
Yeah, and after I worked so hard in Hollywood all those years too.
Yeah.
I was kind of burnt out, and I just kind of wanted a year to find myself and what I wanted to do.
What year is this now?
This is 2011.
Okay.
I believe. 2012. It was about 2010 the beginning of 2010.
Okay.
And I spent the first 4 months in the beach because that's where my parents were getting a condo, which was awesome, but I got bored after a while, so I moved to Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador, up in the Andes Mountains.
Okay.
Rented an apartment, which, listen, it's so cheap down there. That's the only reason why I could not work for a year and be there, was because South America is so cheap.
Huh.
Because I mean,
you just saved up your food stamps from Burbank, and you went down there, and you're like
living like a king.
Taquitos for everybody.
Oh,
I don't know what's the lobster crabs or whatever.
Let me tell you, they have great steak down there.
Steak,
yeah,
steak and lobster crabs are down there.
A nice steak dinner will cost you about $6 down there.
Get out of here!
I'm telling you, I can't buy you a Big Mac here.
Yeah, no, you can't even get you a Big Mac deal now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but the quality of life. Let me ask you, how different is it?
It is.
On that, you're not vacationing there; you're living there.
Yeah, it's the quality of life. Depending where you live, can be really bad. I was in Quito, which is the capital, which is a really nice area.
Right.
But you go out to dinner, and there's 4-year-old homeless kids asking for food sometimes.
Right.
And you don't get that here.
Right.
So you definitely see some of the poverty, and the law is not as strong out there. Like you could get away with a lot more down there.
This is to me the flip side, and this is why I'm fascinated by anyone. I understand obviously your father's born there; that's a different story. But to go back or to go live there, I'm fascinated by it. I'm not disparaging it. I'm questioning it at all. I'm fascinated by. You had told me what time you were mugged in Ecuador.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the problem because I'm in that American mindset.
Yeah.
Where you feel like you're safe for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe a couple wrong turns from the Staples Center, you're okay here.
I just saw the latest Fast and Furious film.
Right.
I think it was like Fast 5.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking home at 10 o'clock at night, and this guy pulled the back of my shoulder, and I had my headphones on, so I didn't even see him coming.
Oh, you head on a swivel. Head on a swivel, Josh.
And he has his hand in his pocket like he has a gun. But I know right away he doesn't have a gun. Because, number one, I will say about South America...
Kevin Costner from Field of Dreams?
Yeah. Ecuador is very hard to get a gun. It's not like here where you can just go in a store and buy one.
Gotcha.
So, you have a gun in Ecuador, you got to get it really legally.
You have the power.
Yeah, exactly. So, my dad always told me, if a guy says he has a gun and he doesn't show it to you, he probably doesn't have a gun. So, second, I look at this guy's pocket. It's so obvious he just has his finger in his... And the jacket could barely hold... The pockets on his jacket could barely hold his hand.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, this dude doesn't have a gun.
Right.
So I try to push him off me, and he's just saying, pistola, pistola. He's like, he has a pistol. I was like, you don't got a pistol. So at this point, I'm just trying to get away from him so I can run away.
Right.
I wasn't even going to try to fight him or anything. But he literally wrapped his hand so dug into my jacket. I couldn't get him free. So at this point, I'm having a little wrestling with him.
Right.
And I'm like, I just need to get away so I can run away because this guy doesn't have a gun. And then he pulls out a little pocket knife. And it's only like a 2-inch blade.
But still.
That's enough for me to say,
enough.
okay. So I had no cash in my wallet.
Right.
And I showed him my wallet. I was like, I have nothing. He's like, give me the phone. I have my iPhone. And iPhone down there is like a brick of gold. Those things go for, electronics down there go for triple the value what they go for here. So I had to give him the phone. Looking back, I wish I just threw it in the street.
Right.
Because then he would have broke and he wouldn't have got it. But then he might stab me.
Yeah, or he goes and reaches for it and you punt him in the head.
Exactly.
Because it turns out he was the police chief. Right? This is the Ecuador here.
That's not far off.
Federale or something.
So he runs away, and I start chasing him. But I'm staying because we're not it's not like he got me in an alley.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the city. We're close to major intersections.
And what time is this?
10 o'clock at night.
So there's people around.
There's people around.
Is there a Denny's open nearby or something?
Denny's is like a 5-star down there. So I'm running after him, but
You're not convincing me to live down here.
I'm keeping my distance.
Yeah.
I am keeping at least 20 yards between
So you're
us.
chasing him, but you're just kind of keeping a watch.
Keeping a watch on him.
In LAPD, they call that a code 5.
Yes.
All right. Gotcha.
And then these 2 cops pull in front of me in a pickup truck.
And they say, stop bothering him.
And I tell them in the best, and at this point I've learned quite a good amount of Spanish.
So what do you say in Spanish?
I'm like, he took me dinero. I can't. Oh God, now
it's lost away.
I was like, he had a pistola. I'm just miming it.
Yeah.
And the cops are like, jump in. We're going after him.
Okay, I'm on board here.
I'm jumping in the car, and I'm trying to. They're basically taking me around the block, and we're driving around.
Is one of them making the siren sound, or they actually have a siren?
They didn't even turn the siren on. We're just rolling around this because we're near a park where I actually play basketball a lot.
Right.
And we're just I'm literally I'm focused. My vision, I'll never forget this guy's face. So I'm looking for his jacket. I'm like, but listen, I don't know where the guy went because we could not find him. The cops drove me around for 15 minutes trying to find him. At this point, the cops were like, he's gone.
Then they turned to you and said, what's in your wallet?
Yeah, I was afraid the cops were going to just start shooting him if they saw him. And so they gave me a ride home. They told me to be careful more. That was my big mugging story.
Pinche gringo.
Yeah.
Look, again, I love it. I'm not laughing at you. It's just you're not convincing me to leave Studio City. All right, I have enough problems going to other parts of this country.
That was my only bad case in the whole year I was there.
And I'm making a generalization. I can tell you're getting defensive of the people of Ecuador. I'm making a generalization here from a white bread American point of view. But
I understand.
You're not. I mean, the steaks are $6. The police chief will come and mug you, but steaks are $6. I'm all right. I'll go here and get my $15 hamburger.
One thing I will say, there's a great sense of community down there. If something goes wrong, everybody kind of comes together. And
sure, I don't even know my neighbors above me. An
Exactly.
earthquake hits tonight, I'll be like,
man.
I don't know who you are. Get out of my living room.
Can I just say, like, growing up in New England, that's the big difference between LA and, like, maybe some of the East Coast, is I knew all of my neighbors. It was like my whole street was like,
I knew growing up in my hometown of Arroyo Grande, I knew it here. Down here, believe me, I've thought, you think about that because we've had some earthquake rumblings here lately, some a little bit more than the average, earthquakes that kind of make you think, and it's like, I don't know anyone here. These are the people I'm going to be boiling water with in my underwear on the street because we have no power for 4 days. It's a little bit of that. It's a trade-off, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I've been to other parts of the country, not for long periods of time, but Tennessee was great. You went to a Jack in the Box and they were like, how's your family? You don't even know my family. Well, tell me about your family. And that's good. And at some point, though, you're kind of like, stop talking to me. I just want my bowl of chicken mixed with gravy and mashed potatoes. So you're in Ecuador. You come back. This is when I find you.
Not right away. I go back to Connecticut for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted to spend some time, but not just my family. I have a lot of friends back home.
Right.
And I've been in LA so long. I've been in Ecuador. I was like,
getting mugged, playing basketball.
Yeah, I really need to go back and see my friends, my family. All my mom's family's in that area.
Gotcha.
So I was like, I just need to go back and spend some time with the family and stuff. And after being back in town, I was like, I need to get out of here. I miss
my mugger in Ecuador more than my aunt.
I did miss LA, and my sister was still out here. And I was like, I think I need to go visit my sister because while it's nice to be back in Connecticut, I realized why I left in the first place.
Right.
I love the city. I love the city.
That's good. And now you had been watching the Schmoes Know guys for the whole time, right? Or when did you start watching them?
The reason why I started watching them was because one thing I love about living in LA is you're surrounded by people that love film. Yeah. And you have those conversations. When I was in South America, I was living by myself for a while. No one spoke English really. Right. So I went to YouTube to watch all these reviews because I needed you were lonely. You missed Hollywood. I missed the movie geek culture. Right. And I started watching reviews online because I couldn't talk to my friends about it anymore. Yeah. And some of the Schmoes was one of the first people I started watching, and it was because they went on Adam Carolla podcast. Gotcha. Because I heard of them before. Because when I lived in LA, I heard them on the Carolla podcast. Gotcha. And I was like, oh yeah, those are the guys that used to be on Carolla. Maybe I'll check out their videos. And that's really when I kind of become a fan. And then that got me onto the podcast. Yeah, you write this letter, or not even a letter. You write this comment. Yeah. Well, I come back to Connecticut. Right. And I'm thinking to move back to LA, but I'm not sure if I want to. Because I'm thinking about also going back to South America and maybe opening a business. Because my parents have a lot of property down there. So I'm like, where you can sell $5 steaks. Exactly. And so $5 steaks, man. So basically, I'm in Connecticut at this point when I message them. And I write to them like, oh, hey, really? Okay. That's what I did. I never tell you that. I was in Connecticut when I wrote that. Because I was going to LA in a couple weeks to visit my sister. So you hadn't officially moved back yet? No. Oh, get out of here. I didn't know this. I lied to Christian. Oh, wow. We're learning this for the first time here. Yeah. It's a Schmoes Know exclusive. You lied to Harloff. Listen, I've lied to get jobs before. So this wasn't I tried to get a job at Tropic Thunder, which was in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And I lied to him in an email saying I lived in Hawaii. And when they asked me to come in for the work on it, I flew to Hawaii the next day. And I totally was just living off the land. Listen, it's just stuff you gotta do in Hollywood to get ahead. Kids, take notes. That's how you do it. Yeah. Where do you need? I live in Omaha. I'll go there. Yeah. So, and I knew where you guys at the time. I think we were recording in Universal City. Yeah, we were up at studio. So I lied to Christian. I said, hey, I live in Burbank because that's where I used to live. Right. I was like, I know I'm not that far from where you guys shoot the show. So I totally lied to him. Right. Because not thinking there was anything that was gonna happen out of it. And then when he tells me that, hey, he wrote me, he goes, let's meet up and have coffee, like a coffee bean or something. Mm-hmm. And I totally lied to him. I said, oh, I'm visiting my family in Connecticut right now. Well, I am. Which wasn't no. Everything is from a certain point of view. Exactly. So I came 2 weeks later. Mm-hmm. I told Christian I'll be back in 2 weeks when I was really just visiting my sister. And so when I met you at the Grove,
Farmers Market. We didn't meet at the Grove.
Market,
There's a big difference. All right, don't cross Gilmore Lane and call it the Farmers Market.
When I met you, I was just visiting my sister. Really?
Oh, really?
I wasn't.
You scoundrel! You cheat!
I wasn't officially living back in L.A. yet.
I'm recalling, we met at the Farmers Market where I used to be the security director for 4 years there, so I have an affinity for the place. And I say, all right, fine, let's meet there. We got some coffee at my ex-girlfriend's mom's coffee shop, and we went upstairs in the upper dining deck, and you proceeded to lie to me. Is what you're telling me. You proceeded to lie and fib your way.
I don't think I actually
job.
lied to you. I don't think at any point did you ask me, hell, do you live here? Do you live there?
No, at no point did I say, you don't, hey, quick question. You don't happen to live in Ecuador right now, do you?
No. So I remember and just come back. And that's why I was in Pasadena. Like, I've never lived in Pasadena before. I only was there because my sister was there.
And is that why you're still there?
No, I mean I moved out. I'm still living in Pasadena right now.
Yeah, no, I know you're still there. I love Pasadena.
I do.
But
That's the problem. I grew to really like it.
It's a great place. It's just kind of far from everything.
It is. That's why eventually I am. Hopefully by the end of this year, I'm hoping to move back to this area, Studio City, maybe Burbank.
There's some places right across from the AfterBuzz Studios. We'll get you in those.
There you go.
So wow, I'm getting over this exclusive here of you lying your way. You tricked us. You're false and tricksy. You're like some kind of hobbit.
It was so funny because, like I said, Christian literally said, let's meet a couple days later.
Yeah.
And I was in Connecticut. I was like, oh, whoops, can't. I'm visiting my family. Oh. And so when my first show was...
So if I had to come out of that interview and been like, no way, you'd be back in Connecticut.
I'd probably be, I don't know, that's tough.
Or you'd be in Ecuador selling $4 steaks to the federales who are mugging people.
I would probably be splitting my time between South America and Connecticut.
Well, see, I changed the course of your life then.
Yeah.
That's when I changed.
This is why I say you got to put yourself out there sometimes. I almost went to Thailand one time to work on the film Rambo.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge Stallone fan.
Yeah.
I wrote the director of photography almost like 6 months before they started shooting.
Yeah.
And asked him if I could work on the film. This was before I even moved to LA.
Gotcha.
And he responded to me. And he said maybe, and it blew my mind. But then he dropped out of the project, and I had no connection with that production.
Gotcha.
So when I did come to LA, and to this day, that's why I'll always try, because you never know what could happen.
Wow. Okay. So then you show up. You lie your way onto us. You move out here then.
Yeah, it's funny.
Is it fair to say you moved out here for the Schmoes? That's a lot of pressure on Christian and Mark.
Listen,
they should probably buy you some nachos or something.
My thing was like, listen, I'm going to stay with my sister for like a month or two, and I'm going to see how this goes with the Schmoes. Yeah. And I started working on a podcast, and I was like, if this actually turns out to be something I like to do, I'll move out here. So then in that year, when I went to my friend's wedding, which I believe was like November.
Yeah.
I was only on the show for like 3 months at that point.
Yep.
And that trip was not only to go to my friend's wedding, but was to get my stuff to move to LA. Because I decided I'm coming back to LA.
Wow, you just revealed some mind-bending stuff. Maybe to the audience as a whole out there, you're thinking, I don't know, this fascinating story. The kid survived the mugging. But that blows my mind because you completely kept that from us till now. Revealed now.
I was saving it for this podcast.
Wow, the whole time.
I was like, whenever I go on Ken's Compass, I'm going to drop this bomb on him.
Wow, that scares me. I mean, the dedication. I thought you taking a bus and a train and a helicopter to get to the studio was dedication. You weren't even living out here.
It's crazy, man. But you know what? It's been awesome. Like, I couldn't be happier with working on the show. And it was apparent to my parents when I went back to Connecticut. Yeah. And I think, actually, they were still in South America, but it's apparent to my friends and family that were in Connecticut that I really enjoyed the show, and they loved watching it. And I was like, I'm going back there because I got to see what happens.
Yeah, and you had already been punched by Roddy Piper by this time.
Oh, man, yeah. My friends were so jealous.
Now, when you come back, I want to talk about this. When you came back, you were not the only intern on the show. When you came back, Joe Ruggiero, a.k.a. Shoesy Pants, was installed as the second intern, and you guys had a bit of a feud.
Well, yeah, I guess so, yeah. We didn't see eye to eye. You know, not everyone meshes together.
Right. And what was funny is it wasn't, in terms of wrestling terms, it wasn't a work. It was a shoot. There was some legitimate heat there between you two guys, right?
Listen, I have nothing against Joe.
Joe's a great guy.
He's a great guy. It's just, maybe his personality and my personality don't exactly work well together. That's all.
What would you feel is the core of that?
Man,
I'm not talking about the guy's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
I'll bring him back on to defend himself.
Don't worry. Nothing. It's just, the way his work style, because he never worked in production.
Yeah.
He's done some stuff.
Has he done some stuff? He's done some charity event. He's got a little bit, not to your extent.
Yeah.
Probably not unionized, but I'll defend him a little bit there. Yeah. He's done some stuff. He's run some backstage things for big award shows.
Okay, he didn't really show it. When I worked with him, but he's a funny guy.
Joe's a great guy.
He is a really good writer.
He's been contributing to schmoesknow.com, but that feud grew over the course of the time. What was the thing that really got you under your skin that it turned the tide from?
He did this little stick figure with my head on it. And it was totally out of left field.
Yeah.
But I responded with, I think, a much better video.
Yeah, except for you called him Joe Rugarillo.
Which is part of the incident.
But that's part of your charm.
Exactly.
Is Guillermo del Toro.
I blame my pronunciations on growing up a bilingual neighborhood.
Is that what it is?
Because my dad spoke Spanish, my mom spoke English.
Well,
I don't think
Time out. I would think if that's true, the fact that you can't say Guillermo del Toro...
True.
would not go to your theory that being of a Spanish speaker.
It's the mix of when you try to learn both at the same time and you don't master either of them.
If it was William Smith, I could see you going William Smythe. No, but Guillermo del Toro might be a name you could say in Ecuador.
I don't know why I'm so bad at pronouncing names.
I don't know. It is part of your charm.
I didn't realize it until I became a schmo. No one ever called me out on it before.
Yeah, it's some names out there. So I've mispronounced a few on the news and gotten some hell for it from the fans in comments.
Christian and Mark are pretty bad at times on the videos, but I bring it to a whole nother level of bad.
Oh, wait, are you calling them out on their videos?
No. Oh, even Christian says all the time on some of his videos how he says names wrong sometimes.
Oh, okay. But you're not here to stir up trouble.
No, but I brought it to another level when I came onto the show.
Yeah, and you still do. It's I'm trying to think of some of your more famous ones. What was
John Liejo?
John Liejo.
That's when I was making that video, and I didn't even try to pronounce it right. I was like, John Liejo.
Here's my tip to you.
Okay.
If you're going to put it down in a video, if it's on the fly on the show, we all say things. Try just looking up other interviews. That's how I know it's Saoirse Ronan versus Saoirse. Donald Gleason. Everyone says wrong, and it's actually Donald Gleason or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm saying that wrong now, but though occasionally you just see some and you think you got it. Mm-hmm. And you don't, but at the same time, I don't want you to correct that because it's part of your charm.
I never was a guy with a mic in front of me, so it never was something I thought of.
We can tell.
Yeah.
No. Well, okay. So going back to the Shoesy thing, though, is there ever going to be a reunion between you two?
I don't know. I guess that's if we ever end up in the same social event, maybe.
Not these days. So looking back now, I got to ask you this question. And looking back on almost 2 years into this adventure, you've been through now phase 3, phase 4, and now phase 5 of the Schmoes Know podcast, now called the Schmoes Know Movie Show. Is it worth it?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I love some of the best memories I have from these past few years. And there's more to come. And I cannot wait for Comic-Con and stuff.
Yeah. Comic-Con should be crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, money, I've never been big. I don't need to have the biggest house or the biggest car.
Right.
I've never put money in front of life experiences my whole life.
Clearly.
It's something my parents something my parents installed in me for better or worse. You can't put money on some of the stuff I experienced or what I've done.
Yeah, living a year abroad, I kid, but that's brave. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it.
I know, and I do get credit a lot because I don't always do what's best for me, but it doesn't mean I don't regret a lot of it. I live with very little regret in my life.
That comes across because you're not one of the. No, I'm saying this nicely. You're not a stressed individual.
Yes, I've been getting that my whole life. Everyone's always tells me I'm so easygoing. And,
you are. You just kind of roll with the flow. You're prepared through life. You just kind of, and that's what we like about you. And that high, especially now we always, we were live from the moment you joined the podcast, but now that we're kind of a live TV show, can be intense at times, and you're in charge of it now. You're engineering, you're learning from Phil over there at AfterBuzz, and you're running the show. And if you're listening to this, this will be airing here this week. We got another show coming up with Jesse Eisenberg, and we're growing, and you're a key part of that growth. So yeah, putting money before experiences. Now our plan is to make sure you have a plate of tacos and maybe a cab ride fare to get you there. But so I'm glad to hear that it's worth it.
It is, man. I absolutely love it. I would not trade it for anything.
What do you think? Are we doing justice to this film world for the fans? Because you at heart are still a fan.
Yeah, I still am a fan. It's weird coming from that fan perspective to working on a show. The first couple shows, I was like, I can't believe I'm here. Yeah, I can't believe I'm watching this live.
That's funny. It's funny because we get that now with Cobster.
Yeah, I know. And
he's a young buck. You had some years to you and some experiences in Ecuador and life experiences in college and production and seeing Penelope Cruz in her underwear. Cobster was a young, talented kid. I think you're going to see a lot more of him professionally, folks. Cobster's a great kid, Christian Ruvacabla, and
it was fun seeing him
every once in a while on the show. I have to nudge him. I'd be like, "Hey, you're on the show. You're not a fan of it. Keep going. Quit looking at Makuga. Quit staring at him."
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, even though I thought that, I didn't act that way. I hope I didn't come off that way.
No, you never did. When it came out, whenever we bring you on to talk movies, whenever we're like, JTE, tell us what you feel about Spider-Man, and like 10 minutes later, you're still talking about Electro and Pigman or whatever. Rhino,
that was the hardest thing for me to, when I first met you, I had no ambition of like being in front of the camera or on the microphone. When you told me when I first met you, hey, you're going to play on once in a while.
Yeah.
I was nervous the first time I went out front.
Yeah, no, that was clear, but that's okay.
But I'm more comfortable now.
But you're like, and then it's kind of like that Grail from Last Crusade. Everyone's reaching for it. Like you don't think you want it, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, but I have a point to make.
Yeah,
reach for it, Elsa.
And plus, they're talking about movies, which if I'm comfortable about talking anything,
it's movies. Which for me, let's set the record straight. I actually do love the movies I love.
Yeah,
you give me a lot of crap for not liking movies.
You have good taste. I love Shop Girl. Shop Girl's a great movie.
I've seen Shop Girl 25 times. I've seen Gremlins 0 times, which is much to your dismay. And I have since returned that DVD to you unwatched. I was close to watching it, and then I saw the CinemaSins preview or coverage on it, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna
that's horrible, because I could take a 4-minute video of E.T. and I could edit it to look like a horrible movie.
You could. You could.
I could. So it's like to judge it off that is just not right.
Let's get into this debate. For me, I just have, and it's even when I wasn't as busy as I am now, and I'm busy now. Mm-hmm. I'm up working until 2 a.m. for one of my 12 projects, and up at 7:30 to get to work. So, I ain't doing backbreaking labor, folks. I'm not a prisoner of war. I don't have anything serious. I'm not complaining. I love my life, but I'm busy. Yeah. So if I'm going to take really what's 4 hours out of my day to go to a movie theater, to watch a movie, go home, it better be something good and worth it. And I actually enjoy the movie theater experience, though I enjoy going alone Wednesday at 10 a.m. Okay. Occasionally I'll do event movies and wait in line.
I can understand that.
I just went to the Cinerama Dome to see Captain America, and it was great because Kevin Feige was there, the directors were there, They came out and they did a big high and wave, and it was great. It was fun, great experience. And I liked Cap too. But if I'm going to invest the time, it's got to be worth my time.
And how do you determine if it's worth your time before you watch it? Gremlins is a great 80s film.
I look at things very personally, and outside of epics, epics are different. Indiana Solo and the Fellowship of the Ewoks is my all-time favorite movies.
Terrific.
But other than that, the movies that I gravitate to, I've got to leave the movie crying and feeling sorry for myself. Shop Girl, High Fidelity, About a Boy, those type of movies. Last of the Mohicans is one of my favorites. It's personal. So when you're like, it's a movie about these little alien things, and you rub their tummies with water and they sprout horns or whatever the hell it is, I'm out.
You're wrong.
I'm like, I'm sure. I'll look up the plot on Wikipedia, but I'm out. At that point, I'm out.
Listen, I understand that. When I have a massive Blu-ray collection, I have maybe 250 movies.
Yeah.
I'm in a mood sometimes for a movie like Spectacular Now or Rushmore,
which I still want to see. Spectacular Now I missed in the theater, and I see that, and that's a movie.
Yeah.
And see, here it comes different. I can read about it or see a trailer and think, I'm going to connect to that movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just know.
But don't you sometimes just want to watch a movie where you have a good time? Like, I don't love.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Gremlins, it's not like you're going to leave crying or anything, but you're going to have a good time.
I'm generalizing a little bit.
Yeah.
And believe me, there's movies that... And this went back to my childhood. My parents had to drag me out of my room almost physically to watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I think that's part of it. I think you're like...
And that became... But I'm saying that became one of my most important movies of my childhood. I dressed up as Pee-wee for Halloween. It's one of the reasons I went to the Groundlings, because that's where Paul Rubens created it. And one of my great moments was being up in the attic at the Groundlings and seeing like something of his up there, a prop from back in the day. And but my point is, my parents had to be like, we think you're going to like this movie. And I'm like, no way, I want to stay in my room and read my G.I. Joe comics. So that's just the thing I do.
I was the opposite. I had to beg my parents to drop me off at the movies every weekend.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because I was like, I want to go see a movie.
Yeah.
But you've already seen it once or twice.
So, things happen. I hate Sandler movies. I love Happy Gilmore.
Well, yeah, that's not a big deal.
But my point is, but one could come out now, and I don't look back and go, well, I love Gilmore, so I'm going to watch this. I'll be like, I'm not.
Well, that's understandable. His movies he's been making crap movies.
Yeah, I get it. But so sometimes I am surprised.
But the thing is, like, 80s is such a different vibe of movies. Like, I know. Some movies in the 80s just grab that time period, and that's why I love those movies, because it grabs that time period.
I don't maybe like that time period then.
A Steven Spielberg produced 80s movie is usually going to be a good movie.
I've seen The Goonies once.
Okay. See, here's the thing.
Stand By Me, 0.
I love Goonies, but I can understand as an adult. Like, Catherine Reitman doesn't like the Goonies. She saw it for the first time, I think, a year ago. She's like, that's kind of a bad movie. And I can understand that, because you know what? Nostalgia probably builds into my like of that movie. Yeah. Gremlins is a generally good movie.
Look, you and Mark Riley say it. Mark Riley, the editor-in-chief of schmoesknow.com. I don't doubt you guys for one second. It's been documented. The reason I didn't watch a lot of these 80s movies was some restrictions on my parents on what I could watch, and I'm just such a good little boy that even now at 38, I'm like, I can't watch Top Gun because there's a sex scene in it. Meantime, I'm watching Original Sin. So like, it's just a weird thing. I maybe would aim to correct, but I've tricked you. I've confused you, because sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and you'll be like, how did you? No one's seen Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah,
or something.
Exactly. You bring up some of the most random movies. I'm like, you haven't seen like these world-renowned classics, but you see this small film that only maybe like film geeks would watch. It's like, I have no idea. I can't read you as far as movies.
You can't pin me down.
I can't pin you down.
And maybe that's part of my plan. I'm sure at some point I'll watch Gremlins. Look, I admire it. I tease you a lot, but I admire that you have this passion, and people like some of our Schmo fans. In fact, all of our Schmo fans. I don't think any of the dedicated fans of the Schmoes Know podcast and reviews and brand, none of them lack a passion for movies, and I love it. That's why I'm here. And they give me a lot of crap for not being a fan of movies, but
it was a shock. I mean, it's shocking when I came onto the show to find out the movies you haven't seen. Because in my head, I had this built-up image of that you, just like the other guys, you've seen everything.
It keeps growing, huh?
Yeah.
I'm a screenwriter too, and I just don't like. I don't like watching them.
It's okay though; it makes it different, man.
Yeah, someone's got to be in charge.
Yeah.
If everyone's there wanting to talk about movies and do 5 hours on Amazing Spider-Man 2, I'm the one that's going to be. No, we're doing an hour.
Well said. Well said.
Because we got to do a show. So sorry that wasn't much of a debate. It's just me ranting. But I will make a promise to you that I will try to watch some of these movies now that the brand's growing. We have a screening room over at the AfterBuzz Studios now. Maybe we do a Gremlins screen.
I keep forgetting. Have you seen Ghostbusters?
No, never seen Ghostbusters.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's worse than Gremlins. That's like 10 times
Yeah, I know.
worse.
My writing partner, Matt Key, who is one of the biggest, and I'm a giant Bill Murray fan and Dan Aykroyd fan.
I know.
I love Harold Ramis. I even love Rick Moranis.
That's why it's mind-boggling.
Just haven't. And eventually, maybe I'll get to it. There's people out there who hate me right now. More than you hate me right now.
From you.
Yeah, but hey, I love what I love. I will watch High Fidelity for the 50th time.
When you were at middle school at lunch table and everyone's talking about Ghostbusters, were you just not part of the conversation?
Well, first of all, I'm a little bit older than that.
True.
Ghostbusters was earlier. And at middle school, I was doing Dennis Miller and Phil Hartman and Dana Carvey characters to the entertainment of all.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like that.
All right.
I don't know. I'm an enigma wrapped in a riddle of anti-movies. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. Did I disappoint you?
No.
I feel this ended on a down note.
No.
Do you want to go back to Ecuador and chase down that guy again? Maybe we'll catch him this time.
It's just mind-boggling. It's weird because I gotta remember that not everyone's a film geek like me.
Right.
My immediate family barely ever goes to the movies. My
Right.
parents maybe see one movie a year, if that. My sister, my friends, they like movies, but I'm like the only person in my family that's a geek.
And what a lot of times we in the industry don't really stop to remember is that most of the people in the world aren't that.
Yeah, I know.
They are what's playing on a Sunday afternoon. Captain America 2, all right, looks all right. They don't know nothing from nothing, and I actually envy that position. It's a business. We forget that we are playing to the middle.
Exactly.
That's why Big Bang Theory is so popular, much to my chagrin.
That's why I loved LA. When I moved to LA, you're surrounded by a lot of those people. When I go back to Connecticut, I'm surrounded. No one cares. No one cares.
Going back to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay. I had 2 movie experiences in Tennessee. Saw Inglourious Basterds, which I love.
Love that movie.
Love that movie. Saw that in Tennessee. So when Brad Pitt's character starts going off about, and he mentions out here in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, the crowd was like standing ovation.
What?
It was awesome. It was awesome. They were like so happy and proud to be represented by Brad Pitt in that movie.
It's awesome.
The other experience is I saw Tropic Thunder, which you mentioned earlier. So, of course, no kept secret to us, Tom Cruise comes on the screen playing the bald, fat movie producer.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend at the time, we were like, that's funny. Oh, yeah. I love Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
A little bit long, but I love the movie. And, I was like, oh, look at Tom Cruise go here, man. He's awesome. Movie ends, credits come up, and we're in a packed theater on a Friday night. And Tom Cruise as, what is the character, Len Wiseman or whatever the character is? Tom Cruise, and the whole audience collectively goes, what?
Oh, they didn't know it was Tom Cruise?
Not a person in the theater, save maybe 1 or 2 scattered, and me and my girlfriend at the time. No one else knew it was Tom Cruise.
That's insane.
And it reminded me that we got to remember when we're in this bubble, the entertainment industry, there's other people who are giving us their money, and then that's factors. And a lot of times when we're too critical or we're too this or too that, you got to remember who you're going for. And it goes with comedy, it goes with writing. There's an audience you're trying to reach. Stop trying just to reach yourself. You know what I mean?
It boggles my mind. If I talk to my mom, she actually does go see a movie. I'm so interested. I'm like, oh, what did you go see? Oh God, what was it called? It was that guy, that movie with that guy. I can't remember. You saw the movie a week ago.
Man, I used to work at a movie theater after I got laid off in radio. My job before I moved to LA, we worked in a movie theater. I sold tickets and sold popcorn and all that stuff. And I was at the box office. Imagine they'd wait in line for 10 minutes and get up and I'd be like, all right, hi, how you doing? Welcome to Festival Cinemas. What's playing?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Can we have Armageddon? Armageddon? Yeah.
Is that relative?
Yeah, exactly. And that's just the way it is. But I kind of envy them because they get to just turn off their mind, relax, and float downstream. And we're over there going, but that shot was, the character development in this space drama is not to my liking.
Christian called me a film snob this past week on the podcast. And I kind of agree with him. I think once you learn, I always relate this to like wine drinkers.
Yeah.
Someone that drinks wine, they know what year it was made. They know where it was made, how it was made. They'll taste a $1,000 glass of wine and be able to be like, this is magnificent.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy who has no idea where that wine was made, what year it was made, how it was made, what the conditions were, he'll drink it and be like, I prefer this $5 glass of wine. And for filmmaking, for me, it's the same thing.
I've witnessed that in a wine store with a relative of mine.
And for me, it's like I know so much about film, what it goes to making it.
Yeah.
I look at it differently. Whereas somebody that just wants a cheap glass of wine.
You and I, or well, not so much me, but well, actually me, because of my taste as a writer and my knowledge as a writer and everything, our opinion's valid on it, and we shouldn't apologize for it. I just think you have to sometimes remember. Again, when I ran a wrestling company, sometimes we look at what we want to see in the ring, and then the crowd just wants to see someone go bang. Yeah. So that's what I mean.
That's why these Sandler films, which have been horrible, still make money. Because a guy who works 9 to 5, 5 days a week, he doesn't want to go see Drive. He wants to be entertained with his kids, and he just wants a cheap thrill.
One of my all-time favorite comedic icons is Steve Martin, of course. And when asked about why he blew up so big in the 70s as a stand-up, as he said, everyone was talking about Nixon and the Vietnam War and all the problems. I put an arrow through my head.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my goal. I try, sometimes I get little jabs here and there on my Schmo news, but really, and there's some of the reactions to the Schmo news. I don't even want to go into it here, but some people totally miss either the joke or miss the vibe of what's going on. But yeah, I think you're valid. I think your point's valid that, once you get to a certain level, we do know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
If you or I say the character development in that movie was this, we're probably right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter to the people paying $15 a ticket. They just want to be entertained.
And so when I see a bad movie, and I know it's a bad movie, and someone says, "Oh, that's just your opinion." Yeah, it is, but I also know what I'm talking about a little bit.
Yeah, I don't. It is. It is my opinion. My opinion's probably more informed than yours.
Exactly.
Is just the way to say it. The other way around. We're sitting on a very nice new structure here. You're hearing the sound of this Napzok Files Mini Mo Tavern's bar that was handmade. My opinion on this is not that informed.
Understood, yeah.
That's just the way it is. So, all right, we've had a fun talk here, learning a lot about Josh the Intern, a.k.a. Josh the Engineer, a.k.a. JTE, a.k.a. Mr. Ecuador, a.k.a. Josh Tapia.
Mr. Ecuador, I like that.
Mr. Ecuador, we're going to start calling you that. And you have revealed some great stuff, some valuable lessons for those outside of the industry, looking to get into the industry, film school students. And a lot of our Schmo listeners are younger, and they're aspiring, passionate film fans, and they want to become filmmakers. And I think these lessons that you say, including the lying your way to get into jobs.
Listen, if I can say anything to anyone that comes out and wants to be a filmmaker, don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Right.
Even the smallest thing that might seem as like, the chances are 1,000,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
Do it, because you never know what could happen.
Dreams, man. Have your dreams, but make them your goals and work for the goals is what I believe in. Dreams are dreams, but goals are attainable if you work for them. So that's what you've done. That's the lesson you've given, and you've also taught us to not be afraid to travel to other countries where the federales will put you in the back of their pickup truck and chase after the man who just held you up with a fake gun. And the biggest thing of all, and it might not matter to the world at large, but the fact that I hired you on a lie.
Does that make you feel warm inside?
Even till this moment, Christian and Mark do not know that you left everything behind to be the man that runs and gets them some beer down at the CVS.
Yeah.
So I am so glad that you've stuck with us, and you are killing it in Schmoes Know, and I mean it when I say, if not for you, as Dylan wrote and Harrison once sang, if not for you, there would not be a Schmoes Know movie show right now.
I'm going to pretend like I know what that song is and where that quote's from, but I have no idea.
If not for you, all things must pass. All right, look it up. See? Now we're talking about my stuff.
Was that a Tupac lyric?
It's a Tupac lyric. Exactly, it is. So from my heart, thank you, Josh, for all you do in Schmoes Know. I'll be happy to buy your next 2 for $20 steak dinner with you and Cobster after the show, and many great things to come on the Schmoes Know Movie Show. Be sure to keep track. Follow them on Twitter at Schmoes Know. Go to schmoesknow.com every Thursday night, 6 p.m. PST, to catch the show live. And where can the fine folks find you on the Twitterverse, Mr. Josh?
At Schmoes JTE.
And we're gonna, there's a chance by the time this actually hits air tomorrow that will have changed, because you've changed your name a few times.
I've already changed.
We didn't get into the secret kid you apparently have that we learned from Twitter. Okay. Schmoes JTE?
It's at Schmoes JTE.
At Schmoes JTE. All right. Please give him a follow. Talk movies with him. This guy will tweet for hours about movies with you if you give him the chance. So thank you so much for coming to the Napzok Files Lounge and the Mini Mo's Tavern Bar. Until next time, for Josh, for the Schmoes, this is Cat Napzok. This has been the Napzok Files.